Stephen A., he didn't stand with Shannon Sharpe like he stood with Jay-Z. When he heard about Jay-Z, he said, the guy I know, this is not true. When it came to Shannon, he was like, I wasn't there.
We all have friends that found themselves in various predicaments throughout our life. And you can look at somebody, and even if you take issue with their choices and what they've done, you can still sit up there and look at them and say they're a friend.
The whole thing with Shannon Sharpe is actually crazy, because how are you even entertaining the conversation after put a big black baby in me? Put a big black baby in me? It's honestly giving that you just have like some sort of racist fetish. Like, you know how when people get with different races and they just play, you know, slave and owner. That's what it's giving when I was reading those text messages. Because what you mean 25,000 a cheek?
Shannon Sharpe has straight up iced out Stephen A. Smith after Stephen couldn't keep quiet about Shannon's lawsuit mess. Here's what went down. When the lawsuit first hit, Stephen A. was out here throwing slick shade at Shannon, dropping hints, and basically tossing him under the bus while trying to look innocent. If you were watching closely, Stephen was already out here hinting that ESPN was about to drop Shannon way before any official word came out. Folks were looking at Stephen crazy, like, why are you out here talking like Shannon's career is already over? But then, just a few days later, Stephen started acting brand new, claiming he believes Shannon is innocent now. Fans aren't falling for it, and neither is Shannon. Word on the street is Shannon ain't picking up Stephen's calls or texts anymore, leaving Stephen hanging while the streets keep talking. Even celebs and media heads like Mace are calling Stephen A. flip-flopper and a snake for switching up now that the spotlight's hot. Is this really the end of Shannon and Stephen's ESPN run? What made Stephen A. suddenly change up on Shannon like that? Let's get into it.
You ain't gonna see me excoriating him. You ain't gonna see me disrespecting him. You're not gonna see me stripping him of my support. I can tell you what I think you right and you wrong about.
Sources say Shannon has fully cut Stephen A. off, not just on TV, but behind the scenes too. Shannon's feeling majorly betrayed, especially after Stephen A. flipped on him during all this lawsuit drama. As you probably heard, Shannon's facing a lawsuit from an OnlyFans model he was briefly linked to when she was 19, and it's turned into a mess with everyone watching. Stephen A. might be out here acting like he's on Shannon's side now, but let's not forget just last week, he was the first one throwing shade and hinting that Disney and ESPN were about to cut Shannon loose before they even said anything. And now insiders close to Shannon are saying this was the last straw. Allegedly, Shannon been feeling like Stephen A. was low-key jealous for a while, especially after Shannon's club. Shay Shay blew up with those viral interviews like the Cat Williams episode. Shannon's star was climbing outside of ESPN, and Stephen's vibe started to switch up real quick. Now with Stephen A. trying to backpedal and act like he's Shannon's ally, Shannon's not buying it. Word is, Shannon's ignoring Stephen's calls, and people close to him are saying he's done with Stephen A. for good. And here's some context. When all this drama first popped off with Shannon, Stephen was one of the first to speak on it, going on his show saying he felt bad for Shannon. But the way he said it, it was like he was already talking about Shannon's career in past tense, like it was over.
It's a sad situation. Shannon Sharpe is somebody I work with a couple of days a week. Shannon Sharpe is somebody that I brought to ESPN. To be clear, even though this podcast, this YouTube show is owned and operated by me solely, it doesn't mean that I'm going to be dismissive of ESPN, who employs me in my daytime job on First Take. So I sit here before you today letting you know that they are aware that this is a subject that I was going to broach, because I owe them that courtesy. I am the executive producer of First Take on ESPN. I recruited Shannon. I went and got him and brought him to ESPN. But I'm not the boss. Those are other folks. There are layers to this, and there are certain layers even I am not on. I can tell you, I also spoke as co-chairman of Disney, the boss, Jimmy Pitaro, who made it very, very clear we are taking this matter very seriously, and we are looking into this very, very closely. In my perfect world, he moves on. And somehow, some way, we find this all to be false. But it doesn't seem like that's the way things are about to go down, considering who Mr. Busby is and how emphatic his client is proclaiming that she is right and she's telling the truth. I have no idea what direction ESPN and Walt Disney will go in when it comes to this matter. All I do know is it won't be me making a decision. It'll be others upstairs. In the end, all of us have someone to answer to. No matter how maverick we try to be, and we own our own business, and we're our sole proprietors like I am on this platform and stuff like that. There are advertisers, there are sponsors, there are people you do business with, there are partners, and there are bosses. That's the situation, unfortunately, that Shannon Sharpe finds himself in.
But Stephen didn't stop there. After the news hit that Shannon was stepping away from ESPN, Stephen kept bringing it up on his show, talking about how Disney doesn't play about their image, and once they see you as a problem, it's a wrap.
This 3-time Super Bowl champion and this Hall of Famer, who emphatically stated to me over the phone how innocent he is of these allegations that have been levied against him, insisting repeatedly that anything you read, anything you see, anything you hear was fully and totally consensual. In the same breath, what's inescapable is that without us knowing all the merits, he was working with Disney, where I've worked since 2003, excluding my departure from 2009 to 2011, when I was gone for those 2 years. Outside of that, I've been at Disney since October of 2003. I know this place. I know the worldwide leader that is ESPN, who's under the umbrella of Disney. And it wasn't difficult for me to figure out what was transpiring. They didn't need any definitive evidence at this particular moment in time about all of that stuff. Once all the things Shannon Sharpe's lawyer put out there, it was uncomfortable to listen to. And it was not something that Walt Disney once associated with its brand. So to have him on the airwaves while all of that stuff was put out there was not something that Disney was going to take. That is what I mean when I say I'm not surprised.
Stephen also threw shade at Shannon for being reckless at his age, acting like nothing could touch him, while using the moment to big himself up, bragging about how he's too smart to ever let something like this happen to him.
A lot of people want to walk around thinking you can do what you want to do when you want to do it. You could your own operation. You don't have to answer to anybody. That's not true. I've had people open their mouth and they've said, Stephen A., you work for ESPN. What kind of control do you really have? This is my podcast. This is my YouTube show. I own this. But if you think for 1 second that I could just do what I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it, and there's not going to be any repercussions, you're clueless. And you're destined to fail and fall on your face. Some people sit up there and they look at me and they say, Stephen A. don't get himself in this kind of trouble. How does he pull it off? Well, first of all, There's certain behaviors and proclivities that you never have to worry about me engaging in. But most importantly than that, I often say this about Walt Disney. I'd rather work for a place with standards than one looking for them.
But this is where it gets even messier. After fans and celebs like Mace called Stephen A. out for being fake and throwing Shannon under the bus, Stephen suddenly flipped his script and started defending Shannon, claiming he believes Shannon is innocent now. People were quick to point out the double standard. When Jay-Z got hit with heavy accusations from one of Diddy's accusers, Stephen had no problem jumping in front of the camera to defend Jay like his life depended on it.
Jay-Z and Sean Diddy Combs, a 13-year-old girl more than 20 years ago after an award show after party. I am not going to sit here and dismiss or excoriate Mr. Busby or his client, who's anonymous at this particular moment in time, and the allegations that she has leveled against Jay-Z. I'm telling you, I've known this man for 25 years. And I'm saying for me, Stephen A. Smith, there is no way in hell I believe this about him. Anybody that's been around Jay-Z and knows him has seen him come to the defense of the most helpless amongst us, which are the children. I can't believe for 1 second that he would ever be associated with an allegation like this. And I felt it was important to bring that up because you got people out there. Stephen A., you have something to say about Diddy. Why aren't you gonna have something to say about Jay-Z? Well, I don't know Diddy.
But when it came to Shannon, Stephen A. didn't show that same energy at first. And even though these situations are totally different, folks felt like Stephen was moving shady. Mace even called Stephen out on his podcast, saying it was wild that Shannon didn't know all the details about Jay-Z's case either, but he still jumped in quick to defend Jay without hesitation.
What I saw really was the interview with Stephen A. when he was speaking of it. And I was watching it very carefully, Killer.
Stephen A. said something about this already?
Yeah, because Stephen A., he didn't stand with Shannon Sharpe like he stood with Jay-Z. When he heard about Jay-Z, he said, the guy I know, this is not true. When it came to Shannon, he was like, I wasn't there.
Yo,
in a nutshell, yeah.
I gotta keep it static, you know what I'm saying? Because he wasn't there for Jay-Z neither. You wasn't there for Jay-Z. You were not there for Jay-Z, but you went out on a limb because of the character of guy you know. So I'm not saying that you're wrong for that. I'm saying I would have thought that the same standard would be there, right? If for a guy you work with every day.
But here's the wildest part. Right after Mace's comments started going viral, Stephen A. switched up again, and now he's out here calling out other people for turning their backs on Shannon. He went on Big Boy's show and brought up Shannon's situation again, saying it looks like Shannon's being set up. Stephen even hinted that folks been jealous of Shannon ever since his podcast exploded after that viral Cat Williams interview last year. But fans aren't trying to hear Stephen A. now, and they're calling him out for switching sides just because the heat got turned up. Stephen A. out here trying to lecture folks about switching sides when he's the biggest flip-flopper in this whole mess. Now people are calling him out for being fake, saying the only reason he's suddenly defending Shannon is because Mace called him out for throwing Shannon under the bus in the first place. Let's not forget, Stephen was the first to drop a whole video about Shannon before Shannon even said he was leaving ESPN. One fan said, Stephen's halfway in, halfway out. Loyalty in Shannon's case is wild. They even called it borderline diabolical, saying Stephen went all in defending Jay-Z, but now he's out here backtracking like his first post was some unbreakable stand for Shannon's innocence. Nah, people see the switch up. Someone else said, I said the same thing. The energy he had speaking about Jay-Z was strong. Seeing him speak on Shannon, it's like he already knows they're gonna fire him. Fans aren't feeling Stephen's fake outrage because they know Shannon doesn't even need defending like that, even if parts of the lawsuit aren't true. At the end of the day, Shannon is still a 54-year-old man who chose to mess with a 19-year-old and got himself tangled in some race play drama. So for a lot of people, Shannon's not exactly the victim here. And to make things even messier, more women are now stepping forward, and it's starting to look like Shannon might have been moving like this with women for a long time. According to the U.S. Sun, Shannon's ex-girlfriend Michelle Evans filed a whole separate lawsuit accusing him of serious wrongdoing. In that lawsuit, filed in late 2023, Evans made some heavy, disturbing claims about something that allegedly happened back in 2010. She claims they were in a relationship for nearly 10 years. And in September 2010, everything blew up after she confronted Shannon about cheating. Evans claims that after their argument, Shannon threatened to ruin her if she ever spoke up about what went down. During that argument, Evans says Shannon proceeded to forcefully subdue me, compelling me to my knees, and subsequently engaging in non-consensual oral action. The lawsuit states that even though she protested, he kept going while she was frozen in fear and confusion about what was happening. She says she was too scared to fight back because she thought resisting would make things even worse. According to Evans, Shannon's aggression escalated, and he moved her onto the bed and forced non-consensual penetration, all while telling her he was going to make it so no other man would want me. Evans also claims that after this, Shannon threatened her to keep quiet, saying he would use everyone he knows to destroy her if she ever talked. That's when Evans decided to file for a restraining order against Shannon back when he was working at CBS Sports. In her filing, Evans said Shannon would repeatedly call her, threaten her life, put her under surveillance, and call her just to say he was watching her. After news of the restraining order and these heavy allegations dropped back in 2010, Shannon announced he was leaving his CBS show, but the whole situation got swept under the rug and Shannon's career just kept rising. Now Michelle Evans is back, suing Shannon for defamation, claiming he brought up their legal issues on TV and in public, which she says caused her emotional distress and damaged her reputation. Evans also came out supporting Gabriella Zinga, the OnlyFans model who's suing Shannon, claiming that Shannon exposed Gabriella's identity on purpose just to try and shut her down. Evans told the U.S. Sun, "I want people to understand what Shannon did to this woman by doxing her, by putting out her name, by putting out her OnlyFans account. That was horrifying because things are gonna happen to her because of that, because of all this." Fans aren't feeling sorry for Shannon at all, and they're saying these new allegations fit the pattern of him being a weirdo.
Right, and once you reached a certain stature, it's like the old folks always used to tell you, boy, don't let that money go to your head, right? And now, a lot of times people just are who they are, and you're looking at Shannon, his brand has never really been anything that said he might not be into some of the things that we're learning, right? You could go back to the IG Live, or you could listen to some of the things that he promotes as sponsors of his show, or just certain ways he talks about women during Nightcap or whatever it is, right? Like, Unc ain't never hid that.
Shannon's even catching heat from people in the sports world. Former NFL player and ESPN analyst Ryan Clark said the behavior Shannon's being accused of actually lines up with the image he's built over the years. Meanwhile, Charleston White also spoke up, telling folks to stop pushing the idea that Shannon was set up. According to Charleston, Shannon set himself up by getting involved with a woman young enough to be his granddaughter.
It sounds like a setup, but if you sit back and look at the overall situation, you say this ain't no setup. This is a who been in the league and been amongst elite blacks and white people for most of his life. He live in a white community. He been around white people for over 30 years. Boy got a thing for white. He like young white. He really want a 17-year-old, but he can't. He's an 18-year-old or 20-year-old. So here it is, he at the gym working out. He's showing up at the gym with them big old black legs, that big old print showing in them sweatpants, squatting, sweating out his ass with them big old muscles. Now here it is, this little white girl over there on the treadmill. They making eye contact. Who set that up? Who put her there? Who put him there? And who knew they was gonna be attracted to each other to start? Who set that up? Now, if you watch his interview and you sit back and listen to him and Ocho Cinco talk, and he talk about what he do and what he don't do, well, you see he a weenie with the women. He really mean to women. You sit back, man, I don't do this, I don't do. Nah, man, you mean to women. You ain't no Matt. You don't even know how to sweet talk women. So you see he really a weenie to women. He just got a big old black with the big old muscles. But he's not a charming man. You see, man, he mean, authoritative, and he regimented. No, he's not appealing. So the white girl just playing off the big black. He ain't handsome. He ain't the handsomest big black in the world, and he look like a gorilla. Big black gorilla, silverback. And he mean. So she figures she getting this big black, but in the process of getting this big old black, he mean. I'm gonna choke you when I see you tomorrow. Man, just that's all. Yeah, this is baby. You try to. So she don't want to be treated like a grown woman. She just wants this big old black and let her be irresponsible. He trying to make her responsible and all that other. So now ain't nobody set that up, man.
On top of that, more receipts are coming out about Shannon's out of control behavior, and a lot of people are saying it matches the new allegations. One clip that's been going viral shows Shannon snapping on someone during his podcast. It happened on the April 30th episode of Nightcap with Chad Ochocinco Johnson and guest Joe Johnson while they were talking about the 2025 NFL Draft. Shannon suddenly looked off camera and shouted, "Shut the F up!" The clip spread fast, sparking even more talk about Shannon's emotional state and his rumored anger issues. So with everything coming out about Shannon since this lawsuit dropped, people are looking at him sideways and saying the real story is just starting to come out. At this point, it's clear nobody's really feeling bad for Shannon. People are saying he made his own choices, and now he's got to deal with the consequences, no excuses. And when it comes to Stephen A. Smith, fans are calling him out for being a flip-flopper, and they're noticing how he's the main one keeping Shannon's mess in the spotlight. Some folks are even saying Stephen A. is low-key enjoying watching Shannon's downfall. While he acts like he's trying to help, he's really just making it worse by constantly running his mouth about it. Because let's be real, if Stephen A. actually cared about Shannon, he could have just stayed quiet and refused to comment on the situation. But instead, Stephen A. jumps on his show for half an hour, talking about how Disney and ESPN have high standards and how they won't tolerate Shannon's behavior, dragging the man every chance he gets. One fan said, "Stephen A. is the type of dude who tells the boss you were late just to take your job. Natural-born snake." Another person wrote, "If Stephen A. really wants to help Shannon, all he needs to do is shut up. Talking about it nonstop ain't helping at all." But what's your take on Stephen A. switching up on Shannon and suddenly calling him a friend when he was the first to talk about Shannon's career like it was already over? Do you think Mace was right about Stephen A. having double standards and being a fake friend? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you're rocking with the content, and hit that bell so you never miss the tea when it drops. Thanks for tapping in, and I'll see you on the next one.